Students, today our topic is gap analysis, a very important topic, especially for the research students, because when you have to conduct research, you have different motivation behind. Sometimes our research is to contribute towards body of knowledge, and sometimes it's about finding a solution to a problem which we are facing at this moment. But as a research student, you are more concerned with publishing your paper, or maybe sometimes you have to go for a thesis, and thesis should be obviously of a good quality, because when you submit your thesis, you have to go through the evaluation phase, and reviewers may have so many observations. um, if you if you have a good work done, then you are in a position to easily defend your topic, your research design, and all of what you are going to contribute. So, gap analysis is a research gap is defined as a topic or area for which missing or insufficient information limits the ability to reach a conclusion for a question. Students of the research starts with a research question or hypothetical statement, or it can be a problem driven, or well, we can attribute anything uh, in such a way. Basically, it's about research is all about a problem solving approach, and you need to find the solution or answer to a question, a research question. I'm facing a problem, so I'm quite desperate to know the solution. Now, again, it's not a problem solving approach, but but having said that, we got to have two approaches. The problem can be concurrent in nature. I am desperate to know the solution. So for that, obviously you have to conduct research, but that research is going to be applied in nature. You can find so many issues in your organization as well as in our social life. So you are basically looking for the solution of the problem, and as you get the solution, you have to apply those solutions. You can think about so many issues in our Pakistani environment, and as you're gonna get the solution, so you have to apply it, because the issue can be so critical in nature. The other side is the basic kind of research, and now in basic research, basically we are concerned about to contribute towards the body of knowledge. The theory is what we feel needs to be refined. So there can be some areas, some the pertinent variables which can be inculcated or which can be pinned into the theory. So applied research, what I told you, it needs to have your attention right now. But other side, the basic research, by conducting basic research, you are going to come up on a model or a theory, or maybe you come up with some constructed variables, and these variables are going to be generalized in nature. The beauty of basic research is you gonna apply the model or the theory or whatever the knowledge you have developed, you can apply in a similar kind of situation or in the related kind of problem. So the model you're expecting from the basic research are going to be quite generalized in nature, that can be applied in different situations. uh, then we got another definition of the research gap. A research gap is a topic or area for which missing or inadequate information limits the ability of the reviewers to reach a conclusion for a given question. So again, it's about any area what you feel that can be improved. You can contribute towards the theory. You can contribute towards the body of knowledge. You can call it anything, but that contribution can be in terms of the model, or it can be in terms of the variable. You are adding another variable in a theory. So that variable is going to be your contribution. So students, here now, when you have to go for a research, it can be writing a paper or it can be writing a thesis. We normally ask this question: what is the research gap? But the question can be, what is the novelty in your research? How your research is different from the earlier researches? So how you gonna justify your topic? It's not about someone who has already conducted research on a particular variable in a given environment. So you are going to repeat the same kind of research design. Then it never ever going to add any kind of rigor or differentiation. So, how you can differentiate your research? You have to justify your research. Like a lawyer, you should have so many arguments to defend your research work. You should not be relying at a one particular area. I'm going to elaborate in a more detail. So students, well, there can be possibly we can have three different types of the gap: the theoretical gap, contextual gap, methodological gap, and you can go for the future direction. Basically, future direction also gives you an idea about a gap, any kind of gap. So, well, it's a quite precise way of conducting research, precise way of going for a topic, but it's all about a gap, so I just kept it as a different heading. But here I can see in theoretical gap we further have a unique set of variables that can be an idea or the mediation or moderation. You can add mediator or moderator or number of moderators or mediators in your model. Then the contextual gap, it's about you can differentiate your research with a different population, or you can go for a cultural context. You can conduct a study in a different environment. And then the methodological gap, you are going to have a different instrument or the tool to collect data, or it can be the time span, or it can be the reporting mechanism. So anything you can add in a methodology or research design, so that can also add rigor into your research. So starting with the theoretical gap. Now, this one is most important because but I can see majority of the reviewers, majority of the research journals, they normally want to have a paper on board which is more theoretically driven or which is adding towards the body of knowledge. So you, if you can come up with an idea which is unique and which never been investigated before, so that can be a very good idea. So here we got two classification: unique set of variables and mediation and moderation. Simply student, it's about unique set of variables. That unique set of variables can be with the help of mediator or moderator. It's not always necessary to go for mediation or moderation. It's simply about a theory. If theoretically you can provide rationale to your research, then it's literally okay, you can conduct research. But that can be simply on the independent to dependent relationship, or you can add mediation or moderation. I'm going to discuss in a more detail. Well, starting with a unique set of variables, so do you think we can conduct a research on this topic, compensation and employee satisfaction? Maybe or maybe not, but there is there is a way to know if you can go in this way or not. You know, the relationship apparently it's quite simple. Like here we have a variable compensation and employee satisfaction. I feel with with more of compensation, so I can enhance employee satisfaction. The idea is quite old. You can find a number of papers on this topic. The idea is quite simple, because the most motivating factor is your pay, your benefits, your reward. So compensation always leads towards employee satisfaction. So in 2020, if you work on this topic, then I know people are not going to accept. It's all about everyone knows about this topic. So because I don't find any uniqueness, quite logical. So many empirical evidences exist, so you cannot work on this topic. So better is to go for such kind of topics. Now, students, here you can see compensation leading towards employee satisfaction. No, you can't work. But you can work on Islamic work ethics and team cohesiveness. So, how these two models? The models are quite simple, independent to dependent relationship. But here, everyone knows about it. But in this case, Islamic work ethics leading towards team cohesiveness, if you're gonna find any evidence on the same kind of topic, Islamic work ethics leading towards team cohesiveness, still you can't work. But my assumption, what I feel, Islamic work ethics, if you are ethically quite sound, if you are following all the Islamic principle and codes, then you would be quite high on team cohesiveness as well. So simply stated, if you are a good Muslim, if you are following the Islamic code of ethics, then you are going to cooperate with your fellow member. You would have a team spirit because Islam emphasizes on helping behavior with your fellow member, with your co-worker, and with your subordinates, with your managers. The logic or the rationale is there. You can hypothesize this relationship, provided if no one has ever investigated this relationship. The other side is, you can see, my assumption or my belief is people have investigated this kind of relationship, and I'm confident about it. But my second assumption is no one has worked on it. But for that, obviously, now I have to go to review literature, and finally, if I don't get any evidence, so that's why literature review of the literature is so important. So I have to review the literature. I don't find any evidences. I can go for such kind of relationship. So students, now your question can be, uh, because as you students used to ask this question, why every time I have to go for a mediation or moderation? As you at the mediation or moderation, you have to provide a theoretical background. You have to write the literature review about it, and obviously that is going to be technical. The other side is you have to collect data about a mediator or moderator, and then you have to go for analysis as well, and it's going to be a bit tricky. It's not easy. There are a lot of complexities involved when you have the moderated model. So to avoid those complexities, maybe it's better for the students to go for the simple model based on the independent variable. You can work on it. Believe me, you can work on it on the simple independent to dependent variable model. It's not all about so many arrows and leading towards, from left to right. uh, your paper gonna be accept, or your thesis is going to be significant if you are theoretically strong, if you can convince your reviewer that that is a masterpiece. Like if I find something into it, it's not about the statistical part. If you are theoretically strong, then people are going to appreciate you. So my point is, still in 2020, you can literally work on the simple relationship that is independent to dependent variables. Provided what I told you, if you don't find any empirical evidence about it. But students, the problem is it's very difficult to find a gap, or to develop a model based on independent to dependent relationship, because every day we are getting so many researches, and it's hard to figure out, like the topic you're gonna think. I know they have been must have been investigated a time ago. So it's all about your review of the literature. You can find evidence in. But I would recommend, if you go for the Islamic side, or like the way we have the Islamic work ethics, or if you find the religiosity as an independent variable, so that side can give you some pertinent area to work on. Because, for example, Islamic work ethics. So I can see from the last few years, we got some researches, but before that, it wasn't as much researched area. So it's our duty as a Muslim to work on the Islamic kind of topics. That I got a paper about Islamic HR practices. HR practices are already there, but Islamic HR practices, the way we have the green HR practices. So Islamic HR practices is a good idea. So, well, if someone wish to work on the in the marketing domain, so Islamic marketing strategies, right? So what Islam emphasize to market your product, so that can be a good idea, because as a Muslim we can go for such kind of topics, and the topic can be quite simple. For you students, I have a few examples, like here is a paper. The paper was published in a Journal of Business Ethics. The topic is impact of Islamic work ethics on the organizational citizenship behavior and knowledge sharing behavior. Uh, if I go through the abstract, this study examines the impact of Islamic work ethics on organizational citizenship behavior and knowledge sharing behavior among the university employees in Pakistan. So students, here you can see we have impact of Islamic work ethics on OCB and knowledge sharing behavior. So simply, the model is about Islamic work ethics. Here is independent variable. Islamic work ethics is impacting on knowledge sharing behavior and organizational citizenship behavior. So here we have one independent variable and we have two dependent variables. The model is simple and the model is based on independent to dependent relationship. But what's the novelty in this study? And if I scroll down, then uh, you can read this paper. It's available on a net. And here you can see, to our understanding, no study to date has attempted to establish theoretically or empirically the effects of Islamic work ethics on OCB and knowledge sharing behavior, even though one of key reasons for studying business ethics is its critical role in affecting important workplace outcomes. So now students, you can see a paper was published in a good journal, quite authentic, a very high impact factor. Uh, So, what's new? What is the novelty? Islamic work ethics as an independent variable never been investigated with the knowledge sharing behavior as well as the OCB. Now, knowledge sharing means if you have the knowledge, you should share with your fellow members or anyone who is who needs that knowledge. So if I need to have some information, some hardcore knowledge, so if you are high on Islamic work ethics, then you are going to share with me. Knowledge is not going to be squeezed in a certain way. Rather, it should be shared what our Islam says about it. And second, OCB is a discretionary behavior. It's about anything but your organization never explained in your job description, and yet you are doing any behavior which is good for the organization. So Islam again emphasize on such kind of behavior. You should do anything which is good for humanity, for the organization, for the society. So the theory is supporting, the literature is supporting this narration, and it was a very good idea. And you can see the paper is quite simple, quite theoretically driven, and you can see some of the test and the tables, and ultimately it's a conclusion. So the students, the idea is You can still go for the independent to dependent relationship if you don't find. So what the author is saying, to the best of the knowledge, they couldn't find any such kind of relationship. The idea was good and it was accepted in a good journal. But still, if you are so much keen to go for the independent to dependent relationship, then you have to add a moderator. And so students, here you can see the relationship is again about the compensation and employee satisfaction. What I told you, I can find a number of evidences, examples where compensation was linked with employee satisfaction. If you are so much keen to go for this topic or this relationship, then you have to add a moderator or the mediator. Now, having been clear about the moderator, you can you can easily interpret this model. Compensation reduced would imply satisfaction. So what if I'm going to ask this question? Do you think compensation gonna increase employee satisfaction? So the answer is yes. But my second question is, do you believe every time compensation is going to have positive impact on employee satisfaction? So the answer is probably no, not every time, or it depends. If it depends, then depends on what? It depends on maybe these factors, but not limited to these factors. The personality, maybe you got a personality attribute that you never ever go for monetary rewards, for anything which is financially explained. So some people, maybe they are more towards the respect or more towards the social work or the work for the humanity. They are not motivated because of the financial reward. So personality, and personality in simple terms, these are the enduring characteristics which have the lasting impact. So if you are not driven or motivated by finances at your 6 or 7 years of age, then you would not be financially driven when you are going to achieve the age of 30 or 40 years. So it's hard to change your personality. And then it's about the age. Okay, about age, maybe you know what I feel. If you have crossed 60 years of age, then probably you are not going to be motivated because of the compensation or the financial rewards. And if you are young, so obviously you have so many needs, and you have some aspirations, some dreams. For that, you are going to be motivated because of the money. The point is, if you have achieved a certain level of the age, you have crossed 60 or 70 years, you're not going to be motivated by compensation. Reason being, you have maybe earned a lot ever in your life, you worked so hard to get money, and maybe you have achieved so much. You have a big villa, you have a very luxurious life. So now it's not time to be motivated by money. Now it's time to contribute to the generation, to youngsters and other one. So basically, the age can moderate this relationship. Over 60, the relationship is different, and below 60, the relationship is going to be different. My assumption is like this. And then the data is going to explain, is this true or false? And the financial position. Or if you are already millionaire, then maybe you are not going to be motivated with compensation. So it all depends on your financial strength. And if you are struggling in your life, then you are going to be very much motivated because of the compensation. Students, keep in mind, these are not the facts, these are the assumptions. And well, if you are convinced with my assumptions or with my idea as a moderator, so you can work on it. But later on, the data is going to explain if it's going to hold true or false. So the thing is, well, it's a quite pertinent question, because you can see lot of mediation or moderation in research topics, in research models. And students are of the view why it's so indispensable to go for mediator or moderator. The reason is quite simple, because the independent to dependent relationships have been investigated uh, quite a lot. So it's hard to figure out a gap based on simple IV to DB relationship. You have to go for the moderator, but can change the strength of the relationship. So students, here I got a paper for you. The paper is published in an International Journal of Hospitality Management. The topic is service quality and customer satisfaction, the moderating effects of hotel star rating. Now, if I move towards the the model, the topic is so simple that you can easily figure out the model of the study. So now here you can see it's about uh, it's about service quality. So all these variables are about service quality. Is a comprehensive construct, it's a composite construct, and it comprises accommodation, infrastructure, attitude and behavior of the employees, customer to customer interaction, employee experience, food and beverages, etc. So there are so many things which explains this phenomena, and that is the service quality, right? So service quality is heading towards the customer satisfaction quite easily. What you feel, if service quality is good, then customers are going to be satisfied. But particularly the research is about the hospitality industry. So maybe you are visiting a hotel, and if you are satisfied with the service quality, you are going to be satisfied. Can you work on this topic on the independent dependent relationship? Of course not, because there have been much said on it. What you can do, you can add a moderator. So students, I can show you. I hope you just got this model, the interpretation of this model. So here we have the service quality. This one is the star rating of the hotel, and here we have the customer satisfaction. But what the author is saying, here I highlighted something for you, and furthermore, most research on service quality assessment in the hotel sector has been conducted in upscale hotel, with only a few studies done on low and mid end establishment. Our study contributes to the limited research that comparatively analyzes the theoretical relationship between the service quality of and customer satisfaction with accommodation establishment with different star ratings. In particular, we analyze star ratings moderating effect on the relationship between the service quality and customer satisfaction. So this point is important for you students. We analyze the star rating moderating effect on the relationship between service quality and customer satisfaction, and this one is the rigor of the study. But having said that, students, basically the idea is service quality is one of the main determinants of customer satisfaction. So what the author is saying, there have been so much said on this topic. Service quality is one of the main determinant of the customer satisfaction, and these are the references or the citations. According to these researches, service quality and customer satisfaction has been explored already. Relationship is already there. So what's new in this research? And he is adding a moderator, and here in the end of the introduction, he is highlighting this feature. Theoretical relationship between service quality and customer satisfaction with accommodation establishment with different star rating. In particular, we analyze the star rating as a moderator in the relationship between. What's new in this research? The research is going to be published in 2020. The paper is accepted, and you can see the rigor is, or the novelty is, that hotel star rating. Okay, so that's the reason to add a moderator. Now coming over to, again, if you are keen to go for compensation and employee satisfaction as a relationship, then there is another way, and you can add, take it as a mediator. Compensation leading towards employee satisfaction, further leading towards job engagement. And now I hope, yes, you can work on it. And it's about, if you are providing good benefits to your employees, he is going to be satisfied, and once he's satisfied, he's going to be more engaged in his work. The point is, now I'm taking this satisfaction as a mediator, and it's a uh, it's a mediated relationship, and where we have, uh, principally we should go in a time lag kind of analysis. But that is the reason we add a mediator, because the simple relationships have been investigated. uh, but students, keep in mind, it's not about the conceptual framework or just an idea. You need to have a theoretical scope. You need to have a theory, a rationale, a literature background, etc. You may call it anything. So you need to justify your model. You should have a strong rationale or a theory or the idea behind this kind of topic. Otherwise, just adding a mediator or moderator, that never makes any sense. So, uh, so, well, your research should look like it was pertinent to work on. But for your understanding, again, I got a paper. Now, the paper was published in the Journal of Applied Psychology in 2000. Personality and job satisfaction, the mediating role of job characteristics. So, students, personality and job satisfaction, quite easy, quite simple relationship. From the research topic, I easily got what's there, what are the contents of this research are. Personality is basically the dependent variable, job satisfaction is a dependent variable, and what is there in between? It's a job characteristics. So let's see what's there. But again, students, personality is a quite broad phenomena. It must have taken kind of the personality type or personality attribute. So let's see and explore this model. So here you can see core self evaluation is an independent variable, job satisfaction is a dependent variable, and here we got two mediator: perceived job characteristics and job complexities. And what the author is saying about it. So, core self-evaluation. Students, keep in mind, core self-evaluation is basically the personality type. So, what the author is saying, personality have the impact on job satisfaction with the bridging role of the job characteristic and another variable. So, here, consistent with previous hypothesis, an indirect link from the core self-evaluation to job satisfaction mediated by job characteristic would be expected. However, there is also evidence of the direct relationship between these two concepts. Judge in 1998 hypothesized and found a direct link between code self-evaluation and job satisfaction. Students, the point is again very important. The study conducted in 1998, and they have established the link between core self evaluation, the personality, and job satisfaction. The idea is the particular type of personality are going to be satisfied with their job. The paper we are discussing were published in 2000, but the paper he's talking about it was published in 1998. So the relationship was already there. The direct link between core self-evaluation and job satisfaction within the variables measured in this model is consistent with the direct effects model discussed by Judge in 1997. So Judge in 1998 and 97 have already established this relationship, and maybe you're gonna find some more examples or some more evidences about it, because the relationship is quite simple, I guess. So how this study was different? The reason is this study had a had two mediators: job complexity and perceived job complexity and perceived job characteristics. We sought to replicate Judge et al. By using a longitudinal design which should provide greater confidence in the causal nature and temporal stability of the results. Here he's talking about the methodological issues. The study was based on a longitudinal analysis, and so students, the author must have given the country proposed contribution of the study, like how this study has that made. Uh, this study tested a model of the relationship between course self-evaluation, intrinsic job characteristics, and job satisfaction. The model, the model hypothesized that both subjective job characteristics and job complexity mediate the relationship between core self-evaluation and job satisfaction. So the thrust is on the mediating effect. Furthermore, a study to job complexity mediated part of the relationship. So what I told you, the relationship, the direct relationship was already there in the literature. He got some empirical evidences, but what he tried to do, he added two mediators and he got the result according to his assumption or hypothesis. Uh, so finally, we come over to the conclusion. You have to add mediator or moderator, but for that, obviously, you had to be clear about the definition of the mediator and moderator. And I assume you are quite clear. You have the understanding of these, the difference of the mediator and moderator, and then you can pin into your model. This one is mediator, and the rational, the theoretical support, the theory is there, and you can also add moderator. And that is the reason why we have to go for mediator or the moderator, because simple relationships have been investigated. Coming over to a different, another type of the research gap, and that is the contextual gap. And contextual gap can be based on the population or cultural context. Let's see what's there in this kind of gap. A complete set of elements, persons, or objects that possess some common characteristic defined by the researcher. So population simply means the collection of the elements, right? Complete set of elements, and the elements can be objects or the person. In our management sciences, we used to go for the persons as an element. So the unit member in the population is the element, and that is to, if you are going for any kind of research where implies or the humans are not involved, then the population can be anything. It can be your computers or the books or the register where you are recording your data. Anyways, in majority of cases, survey kind of researches, we have the humans or the objects as our element. But students, It's about the population making study you need. Here we got the population, like you can conduct research on the policemen, disabled persons, minorities. In Pakistan, Christians and Hindus. In India, we have the Muslims as a minority. Expatriates, Pakistanis in Dubai or Chinese in Pakistan, then the doctors, the pilots, service staff, teachers, women, legal consultants, and project staff. My question is, like, if you have to conduct a research on any of these population, what can be, what can be the topic of your study? Now you have to think about any issue, or or variable, or the variables, those who are related with these populations. Policemen, what should be the topic of the research or the variable of the interest for the policeman domain about the disabled person. So you have to work on the minorities in Pakistan, but can be the possible area or the variable of interest. So students, for me, if I have to work on the policeman, then ethical behavior can be a pertinent area, because there are some questions about there are some ethical dilemmas in our police departments. And if it's about the disabled person, so I would be more interested to go for the topic like stigma or stigmatized kind of feelings, like people just feel, they take them as a stigmatized minorities in Pakistan. So they are facing the challenges of discrimination. And expatriates, Pakistanis in Dubai or Chinese, so expatriates, well, if Pakistanis are working in Dubai or maybe in any other country, so they have their saving targets, and finally they have to come back to Pakistan. Their loyalty or their emotional attachment with the organization, that can be an issue, because if I'm working in a state bank or in any utility providing organization in Pakistan. So my utmost sincerity can be with my organization, because though organization is taking care of my bread and butter, yet I feel uh, I can also deliver good services to the common person, the citizen of Pakistan. So I'm contributing to the Pakistan, but that is simply not the case if you're working in Dubai, because you are not working for your country, you are working for some other companies and for the businessmen. To what extent you are loyal with the organization, that can be a good topic to research. And the doctors, so doctors, like in today's environment, their job is so much it's tough, like they can be called at evening, at night, because of the emergencies. No one knows what's going to happen. So the work life conflict, work to family life conflict, can be an area. The pilots, their job is their workload, so it's quite complex kind of job. They have to fly to Canada, 15 to 20 hours flight consistently, and then they are out of their home. So that these topics can be an area. So now you can see what the topic I'm telling you, they are very much relevant with the population, right? Then the service staff, the cabin crew, waiter, CSR. CSR means customer service representatives. So service star, they have to exercise their emotions. So emotional intelligence or emotional labor can be a topic. About the teachers, teachers, their deviant behavior, if they are not giving time to the students, or if they are leaving their class early, or they are not following the discipline of the class of the university. So because they have the multiplying effect, uh, these can be a good area. Or the women in a leading position, women are they, in our country, we think that women are not very good decision makers. So if I have to work, so I have to go for a topic like decision making in the among the women who are working in the leading position. The reason is it's a assumption. So maybe it's just an assumption and the reality is quite different. So women decision making, their decision power can be a topics, and legal consultants, lawyers in the organization. So lawyers or the legal consultants, they have do they have any goal achievement? So obviously they are focused at if there is a case or any litigation in the organization, so they have to face, and once they get success, so how much motivated they are and how they take that success can be a topic. Then the project staff, it's about their job insecurity, because projects have their defined limits from A to B points. And for project organizations, all the employees, their job security, no, maybe the project's going to last for 1, 2, or 5 years, but there is a definite period. So one, what they are going to do later on, their job security can be an issue. It's not about they may have another project, but if it's about 2 or 3 months lax time, so what they're going to do, their job security can be an issue. So all what I told you, according to the population, I have a different topic in my mind. So here I have the list of the topics what I told you. For policemen, their ethical behavior, disabled person, their stigmatized feeling, doctors, work to family, pilots, work complexity or workload, teachers, deviant work behavior, impression management, and students. Literally, if you go and search these topics with the population, then you can easily search on Google Scholar the policeman and the ethical behavior. You'll find so many researches because the researcher thought these areas are important, relevant with this population, and they have already researched. But keep in mind, once you are going for a particular, once you are going for the issue of the population, all the variables in your model should be relevant to that population. That relevancy, I can pick any of the variable, moderator, mediator, independent, dependent, or there can be so many dependent variable. All the variables should have the relevance. When I think about this variable, yeah, that is pertinent with this population. Here you can see, you may find a relevance or the significance of all these topics with these population, but you can't, maybe job security have a certain kind of importance for policemen, but how would you compare with the project staff and the policemen? Yeah, there is the possibility in police department, those who are working on the contractual basis or ad hoc basis, so their job security, because of insecure job, what kind of attitude they are exhibiting, so that can be a good area. But the relevance, importance of the topic with for the population, that is something you have to consider. Salesperson, their self-esteem. So salesperson, they have to go and knock the door of different business people, and they are not giving them time, and sometimes they are getting mad on them. A very good area. So how they feel, they have to compromise their self-respect sometimes. And the women, their decision making, legal consultant, their goal achievement, minorities, Christian, and their discrimination, expatriates, their loyalty with the organization, and service staff, their emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a very, very unique and important topic. Like they have to express good emotions, no matter what kind of emotion actually they are enjoying. But the service staff, no matter it's a waiter or the cabin crew or anyone who's sitting at the front desk, they have to show good emotions because they are responsible to make or break the image of the organization. As you come in the university, so you are not going to to meet the faculty. The uh, the first line of contact is the admission staff. So admission staff needs to be very courteous because you are going to make an image of the university with those staff. So emotional intelligence, they should have the ability to control their emotions and show good emotions to the staff member. So students population, now having been clear with the population, now I can show you some examples. Okay, then again a paper, International Journal of Hospitality Management. Paper was published in 2012. The effects of emotional intelligence on counterproductive work behavior and organizational citizenship behavior among food and beverage employees in the Dulux hotels. So, all right, I guess you can easily understand this model. The model is quite simple. Emotional intelligence is leading towards the counterproductive work behavior as well as organizational citizenship behavior. Here we have independent variables and we have the dependent variables. These two are the dependent variables. Uh, so, not necessarily every time we have two independent and one dependent. Sometimes we have two dependent variables or three dependent variables. Anyways, the model is quite simple, but even what I got out of this model, I can, well, okay, I'm going to read this one. Basically, what he's saying about the relationship between emotional intelligence and counterproductive work behavior. Students, if you are emotionally intelligent, then you are not going to show counterproductive work behavior. You can also call it the workplace deviance. Simply means any behavior. You have a choice. Either if you are going to be harmful for the organization, so either you can leave the organization or you are not giving the 100%. Any behavior which is harmful for the organization, which is not good for the organization, then that is counted as a counterproductive behavior. Or any behavior which is good for the organization other than what is explained in your job description, so that is taken as a organizational citizenship behavior. For example, as I move out of the class and I switch all the lights and fans because I feel it's a good. It's not given in my job description. You should, switch off all the electricity, lights and bulbs. But I feel it's good for the organization, so that's why I'm doing it. The other side is counterproductive behavior. So if I am, doing anything like I'm using the official phone for my personal interest, or if I am not again giving time to the student, then this one is also counted as a counterproductive behavior because that behavior is not good for the organization. And what the author is saying, basically, here he's hypothesizing the relationship between emotional intelligence and counterproductive work behavior. So he's saying the author in 2000 explained that if employees' emotional intelligence improved, deviant behaviors related to organizational tasks would be remarkably reduced, thereby revealing negative relationship between emotional intelligence and employees' deviating behavior. I told you deviance or workplace deviant behavior is the counterproductive behavior also. So the relationship is already there. The relationship is already there, a simple relationship. And about another relationship between emotional intelligence and organizational citizenship behavior. McKinsey in 1991 also stated that employees with higher emotional intelligence showed more OCB. According to Abraham, 1999, employees with high emotional intelligence would better understand colleagues' feelings than those with low emotional intelligence. As such, they were more likely to exhibit altruistic behavior. Okay, so McKenzie, he explicitly said the relationship is positive between emotional intelligence and organizational citizenship behavior. The other side, what this author is saying, if you are high on emotional intelligence, then you are exhibiting more altruistic behavior. Altruistic behavior is the kind of behavior which apparently has nothing to do with me. It's not, it's not in my interest, yet I am doing anything which is good for the society or for the common citizens or common persons. So basically, it's about the OCB, a dimension or the facet, one facet of OCB is the altruistic behavior. So students, well, the relationship was already there, but what the author did, thus this study identifies the association among emotional intelligence, counterproductive work behaviors, and OCBs that have not yet been fully explored in the food service literature. So I have gone through this paper. This study was significant novel because of this relationship never been investigated into that service industry, or more particularly in the hospitality sector. So that population only making it so significant, like these relationships were, the model was so significant for that particular population. So that's why he attempted to explore this relationship which was already established. So now students, moving towards the cultural context. Well, before proceeding, I just got one more example for you. Here I got another paper, Psychological Capital, a new tool for driver retention. A number of studies have